Josh, we appreciate the time. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, fellas. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, and as I said, that title, that's a big deal because a lot of guys can't handle the role of I need you to fill 2 innings here in the 5th, in the 6th. Can you come in the 8th and get an out? Can you then move to the rotation because we don't have enough depth right now? How much pride do you take in your ability to move all around?
A lot of it, actually. I kind of figured that would be my role basically my entire career because I didn't know whether I was going to be a starter in the minor leagues. Coming up in Cleveland system, I was always a bullpen guy to start the year off, and then ended up being a starter about a month and a half, 2 months into the season. And then started the rest of the year, maybe come out of the bullpen in the playoffs. There's just a bunch of different things he did, but I just figured that'd be how it was my entire career. But I think nowadays you kind of get caught up in a role, and if you don't succeed in that role, you get taken out of it, you lose confidence. So for me, getting a little bit older, maturing a little bit, understanding what I have to do to stay in the game was pitch until they give you the ball. Don't go into it thinking you'll be a starter, a multi-inning guy, a winning guy, or whatever the case may be. When they tell you to pitch, go pitch. It's still going to be the same distance away from the plate. You still got to get hitters out, and really no difference other than the days you're going to pitch.
Josh Tomlin, Braves pitcher with Chuck and Chernoff on the Loud Security Systems Newsmaker line.
Well, Josh, talk about versatility. I say underappreciated. I don't think Snit has any idea the pinch hitter extraordinaire he has out in the bullpen. You got a history with a stick.
I do, but I was telling the guys today, we were actually talking about it. We were watching some of the guys bunt before PSPs, and I said I used to be a force to be reckoned with at the plate, but all my hits have come out on an AL team. Once I got to the National League, I haven't got a hit yet. It's kind of disheartening for me. I got to go out there and prove myself again, I guess.
You might get that opportunity again. Josh, I want to ask you, so I was looking this up because I did not know. 11th round pick in 2005, 19th round pick in 2006. So you said you kind of realized throughout your career you might have to be adaptable. Like, if I told you 11 years later you're still in this game, would you have believed me back then?
No, I shouldn't be here. No way. Especially the way the game's going right now, with velocity and spin rates and the vertical break, horizontal break, and the depth breaking balls, and just the unbelievable stuff that's in the game today. And watched it happen throughout the course of my career. I've watched the evolution of bullpen arms, and it's kind of morphed into now starting pitchers have that same kind of stuff. But it used to be the crafty guys that could throw at the bottom of the zone and get ground balls and keep the ball in the ballpark or give you depth, give you innings. With the guys that they wanted as starters. Now it's just we want stuff. We want guys to go out there and just miss bats at all times, which I completely understand. I get it. I'd probably be the same way if I was forming a team, but watching that happen, I didn't think I had a place in the game. I'll be honest with you, but I loved it and worked at it, and luckily I was able to stay around.
The right-handed release specialist never really became a thing. It was always the lefties. But did you see any difference in guys' mentalities with the either 3 batters or close out the inning change last year?
I didn't, and I think guys overall like it because. Obviously, there's certain guys in the league that are better against lefties or righties or vice versa, whatever the case may be, and that was kind of the role. So it might have, shortened their career by a little bit because of that. But you always have guys that come off the bench to turn you around. So it wasn't like, that's kind of the whole ordeal about it. Like guys, the lefties will tell you, and righties will tell you the same thing. It's like I can get both of them out. I just want the opportunity to do it. They'll all tell you the same thing. No one's ever going to shy away from righties coming up or a lefty's coming up, and I'm the opposite hand. I don't want to face them, But there's a little more strategy involved, obviously, especially later in games if you have guys on the bench that are switch hitters and things like that. But I think the game is just kind of going towards that whole versatility aspect of it as a whole. You get guys that can play multiple positions and hit from the left or right side. They're more valuable than guys that just sit there that are, can play one position off the bench, I should say. They can play one position and, just give a guy a day off and hit, certain guys lefty or righty. I think that bodes for the bullpen as well. If guys can go out there and give you multiple innings and close out a game or give you 1 in the 3rd or, 2 or 3 innings that night, it bodes well for the team. It helps save the bullpen. It helps save guys' legs at the plate or on the field. The more versatility you can get on a team, especially a good team like we have, I just think the better off it bodes for you going throughout the course of the season, especially a long season.
Josh Tomlin of the Braves with Chuck and Chernoff on the Loud Security Systems Newsmaker line. It's Braves Week presented by Truist. Josh, I want to ask you about your role as the vet because I know you guys take that seriously. Braves now will not have Melanson as he's moved on to San Diego. O'Day signs with the Yankees. So there are still vets. There's you and there's Martin and there's Smith. But how much do you take that role seriously when it comes to, being there for a Matzik or a Minter or a Webb to help them with any questions or stuff they're working on?
Oh, very seriously. I was fortunate to have guys around me that were able to help me out whenever I was first coming up. And it's part of the role of getting older. If you're lucky enough to stay in the game for as long as we have, it's time to give back. It's time to help guys out as much as you can. And if you see something going on or if guys ask you questions, it's you give them the best answer possible. And if you don't have the answer, it's not always best just to make something up. It's, hey, I can get back to you on that. Let me check it. Let me go look at film, or let me go, dive into a little bit deeper so I can give you a better answer. And it's also just the mindset of where you've been, the things you've seen. And, we have a very, very smart group of guys down there, and they take all the analytics into consideration, understand who they are as individuals. And for the most part, for a veteran guy, the most important thing to me is to be available, be around, be able to talk to these guys. Don't make it, to where they don't feel comfortable coming up to you and having a conversation or asking you questions. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think the group of guys that we have in this clubhouse, from position players to pitchers to coaching staff to front office, everybody around, they're available. They're willing to answer questions, willing to talk, because veterans have questions also sometimes, and, to bounce off other veterans or bounce off young guys of what they see. Because, these guys know their stuff. They've been taught from a very, very, young age in the minor leagues of how to control their emotions, how to understand what their pitch mix is and how to get guys out, and didn't have to lean on a whole lot of people along the way. So, being available for the most part is the most important thing in my opinion.
Josh, I am reading an interview you gave 10 years ago, and 26-year-old Josh Tomlin was asked what his best pitch is. 26-year-old you said, quote, "If I had to go to a pitch, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, I'm going to go with my cutter, cut fastball. I'll throw it against a lefty or a righty." What does 36-year-old Josh Tomlin say?
I'm throwing a cutter.
How is it different?
I'm still going to do it. Nothing's changed. I was fortunate enough to learn that pitch in high A, and it skyrocketed my career. It really did. I had a slider and a curveball, and they kind of mixed throughout the course of the year when I started getting a bit tired. And they just kind of became more of a sweepy pitch. The curveball became more of a sweepy pitch. The velocities were about 3 or 4 miles an hour off, not much. And they just kind of morphed into one pitch throughout the course of the season. And the speed differential wasn't good enough. And I remember Greg Hibbert, a guy, longtime pitcher for the Chicago White Sox, and maybe the Cubs a little bit. He was like, "You ever thought about throwing a cutter?" And I said, actually, Red Murph, a guy that scouted Nolan Ryan back, he lived in my hometown at the time when I was in high school. He told me a long time ago, if I ever wanted to play in the big leagues, I better have a cutter. And I didn't know what a cutter was at the time. I knew, I was like, the pitch that Mariano Rivera throws. That's the only thing I could really think of. And he's like, yeah, exactly. And so I was like, okay. And I didn't even think about it. I never worked on it at that point. But Greg Hibbert put it in my hand one time, and that night I threw a bullpen. Before the game, I was in the bullpen at the time. And that night he put me in for 2 innings. And I think I went 3 up, 3 down, or maybe I struck out 5, maybe 5 with it. And it just complemented my changeup well at the time. And I was able to locate it. It just felt good in my hand. It was a comfort pitch for me. It was a good feel pitch for me. It just felt easy to repeat, easy to manipulate, easy to, locate. And from then on, I was like, okay, I'm going to throw a cutter. And it was a good speed difference from my curveball. It was like 87, 88 at the time. My fastball was 90, 91 at the time. And my curveball was 78, 77. And my changeup was around 80, 83. So the speed differential was huge for me. And it still had horizontal break that was able to get guys off the barrel.
Josh, it's great catching up. Love hearing you talk baseball and pitching. Best of luck this season, and we'd love to catch up with you down the line.
I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for having me.
There's Josh Tomlin, again, the Swiss Army knife.